So it's still an accelerated schedule here in January. So today we're going to finish the curve fitting notes, which is the back side of the note sheet that I had to get out from yesterday. Then when that's done, then I'm going to hand back the formatives. And I will be bluntly honest, they were not good. Okay? They were not good, but we graded them hard too. Okay, we graded them all or nothing. And it was only like a 2-point formative. We graded them. You either got everything right or you got one little thing wrong, you got it wrong. So that also factored into the not good. But there were some people that were way out in left field. Okay? There were some people that were really good, but not as many as we had hoped. So your test tomorrow is going to be on graphing sines and cosines. There will be 4 of those. There will be 2, give me the equations off of a graph that's already on there. And then there are 2, actually I think it's 3, with some data, and you have to come up with the equation, like we're going to do today. Okay? Then Friday and Tuesday of next week, we will review for your final. You'll get the final review packet tomorrow after you take the test. And so then we'll start reviewing for that. And then your final is going to be on, if you've got raw, it is next week, Wednesday, a week from today, period 1. So that starts at 7:50 in the morning. And that's going to be in room 341 to 343, one of the corner rooms upstairs. So if you are Mrs. Hill or me, it is next week, Wednesday. Sneeze. Excuse me. Next week, Wednesday, period 3. Also up in 341, 343. If you can't make one of them, we will have a sign up. We'll actually probably put a spot on the board here that if you can't make those because you have conflicts, then if you can go to the other one, great. If you can't, then we'll have to talk. Okay, but we'll have that. We'll worry about that Friday and Tuesday. Okay. So here we go. So the back side of your note sheet from yesterday. Throughout the day, the depth of the water at the end of a dock varies with the tides. The table shows the depth in meters at various times in the morning. High tide is at 4 a.m. and low tide is at 10 a.m. So what we're talking about here is low and high tides. And this is in Alaska where they have extreme low and extreme high tides. And so right now we're at low tide and the tide is coming in. This is a time lapse over the course of the day. The moon's gravitational pull affects the water and how it forms on the, where it goes on the earth, and so you get low and high tides and all that stuff. Remember now, this dock was 5 feet lower than it was once when the video started. When the family was up in Alaska, we stopped at a salmon bait or a salmon boil or fish boil type thing, and the people there said, if you go over to that island, make sure you're back before in an hour or something like that. You go explore around and walk over to the island, and by the time we're getting ready to leave.
The thing that's different about a Vrbo vacation home, you always have the whole place to yourself. No stranger at the dinner table making things.
And by the time we were ready to leave, it was a 5, you had to swim back. So luckily we got back just in time. Okay? So there's the depth. Okay? So here's the depth in meters based off of that. So what we need to do is we're going to need to graph that. We're going to need to graph those data points. So what we should do is we should definitely get in here a horizontal. which it can be, it's all going to be positive because hopefully you never get a negative depth of water. That would be bad. Okay. So if we start at 12 a.m., so if we start at 12 a.m., we're at 2.55. So we'd be probably somewhere right in there. We can start there. That's fine. That's good. Okay. Then at 2 a.m., 2, 4, 6, 8, noon, 2, 4, 6, 8. So this would be 2 a.m. We would be at 3.80. 4 a.m. 4.40. 6 a.m. back to 3.8. 8 a.m. back to 2.55. 10 a.m. down to 1.8. And 12 p.m. back up to 2.27. Agree with your with my scatter plot. Based off of our scatter plot, cover it up. I would put that as our high, right? Our max. That's what, 4.4? Based off of our data. I would put that as our low, correct? $1.8. If that's true, what's my middle? What do we got? 3.1? Yeah? If that's true, what's my amplitude? Okay? Because in part B here, it says we've got to make an equation to fit our data points. Okay? So if I put in a midline of 3.1. What, I'm going to leave this up to you. You want to make a sine curve or a cosine curve? Hold that thought. Why a sine? Well, our middle is 3.1, and we don't have a 3.1 on our. We'd have to guesstimate where it started, right? Okay, right? Why cosine? Why don't I have to guess where it starts? So if we did a negative amplitude, we could start at the bottom. If we did positive amplitude, we could start at the top. You agree with her? Everybody else agree with her? Yeah? I would agree with that too. Okay? I would start at the top. Okay? Right? So let's make a cosine curve. So if we're going to make a y equals cosine, what was my amplitude? 1.3. So that's going to be 1.3 cosine of, do we know what b is? No? Okay, so let's hold off on that. And then we're going to have x minus, do we know when we're at the maximum? When are we at the maximum? 4 a.m. So what do we want to go with? Minus 4? There? Okay, I would also agree with minus 4 there. Plus, what's our middle? 3.1. Right? Now, if you know anything about tides, they're not quite 24 hours. Okay? It's like 23 point something hours or 20, I don't remember what the actual period of a time is. But we're going to assume that it's a day. So we're going to assume that it's, and since this is in hours, we're going to assume that our period here is 24 hours. Okay? If we're making that assumption, what is my B value? Flippity floppity. Yes, ma'am. We haven't gotten a full hump yet, though, if we go cosine. Right? Well, we're assuming then that the tide's going to go back up, right? And that it's going to get to a maximum depth here again of 4.8 or 4.4, and then it's going to come back down and keep going in that cycle. Okay. Okay, I like it. So that's a good. Now let's check it here with a calculator. Check one of the data points. I don't care which one. So basically plug in one of the hours in for X and see if it works out. Did it work? Not work. Because if it doesn't work, we got to fix our thing. Work, not work. Whichever one you pick, it should be fairly close to whatever depth it is. So if you pick 6 a.m., so if you put 6 into this function for X, you should get out 3.8. What's wrong, Jake? What? Well, you were shaking your head. No, it didn't work. Did it work? Why not? Because it rounded? But how far off were you? Okay. What are we missing? Because we should get, and it's one quick and easy flippity flop. All of your calculators are in what? Degrees. What's this?
Radian.
That's in radians. Yep. Flip your calculators to radians. Okay. So if you flip your calculators to radians, which you're going to need to have that for the next couple of questions. So you should have a DRG button on your calculator somewhere and flip it over to radians and try it again. I'll go with purple. Magenta. Okay. So there's our high, right? There's our low, right? In a cosine curve, that distance is how much of the period? Half of it, right? Okay? So our high was here, and our low was here. What's the distance between them?
Is that not what I was saying earlier?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It's 6, right?
So you lied.
No, I didn't.
You're the one who said it.
I know. And nobody else walked on it. Okay? So so this needs to change here to what?
Wait, so you're not using the entire curve, just like half of it? Wait, why?
Why? Again, on a cosine curve. Okay, remember? A cosine curve starts up high, comes down low, and goes back up high, right? So if this is my start, I should use a different color there. So if that's my start at my high, and here's my low, this is 1/2. These two are equal. Right? Okay. So now go back to this one. If my high is here, and my low is here, that means that there's a 6-hour half, right? Okay, so now let's put in 12. So what changes?
So, this is like that.
Right.
So, like, we're measuring the period for when it goes back up to the high. So, it will go back up at 4.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll come back down. So that, ladies and gentlemen, actually let me get this nice and pretty here. So that now we've got all of our bugs worked out, right? So now when we try it, now it should work. Try it. Try one. If you use 12 a.m., what should you put in instead of 12? You should put in 0 if you're using 12 a.m., yep. Everything else you can go 12. What if you choose 2 p.m.? What should you use? 14. Okay? Right? And so on and so forth. All right, here we go. Moving on. So now, using our model, what am I going to put in for 9 a.m.? I'm going to put in 9. So x here is going to equal 9. What am I going to put in for 3? 15. I got 4 point, we'll call it 2.3.
I thought really x equals 9.
Oh, wait, yeah, tap the brakes. We would do 9 there, yeah. Tap the brakes. What are we doing this 3 stuff? That's still 15. This is still 9. That one goes over there. I got 1.97.
Oh my god, no way.
Both in meters. Okay? Okay? Now, here's the kicker. Here's this one. Based off of your graph, because we got to go off of the graph, a boat needs at least 3 meters of water to motor to the dock. During what times in the afternoon is it safe to dock? So now we're going to basically say whenever this line, let me get a new line in here. Whenever this line, whenever we're above that line. So we would be above that line. If we continue on with this curve here, so from like 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. to about 7 p.m.-ish, right? And that's because you can just basically flip-flop this graph. It just basically comes right over. Ish. You won't have a question like that tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. You'll have a come up with I think it's a temperature question and come up with you'll have this one come up with the equation. Okay. Right.